Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we look at the latest comics and other media featuring the Transformers. In this episode, we get an Autobot reunion in the Sacred Ring as we review Skybound's Void Rivals number 15. Today is Friday, December 27th, 2024, and this is episode 422 of Transmissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that's hoping to get a hand droid for Christmas next year. I'm your host Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Scott, the illustrious Dr. Pants.
Hello, everyone.
And Daryl, the Cybertronian Beast.
Did you say hand droid? I thought you said hand job. So I'm hoping for one of those. Let's talk Transformers.
For next year for Christmas? Like not any time in between?
Well, that too, but I want one next year too. Plan ahead.
It's Christmas. You could ask for more than that.
Oh, 'tis the season. Okay.
Start small. Start small.
Okay, can we get? We're going on. We're leaving this topic. This is over. We're moving on. We're not talking about this anymore.
It wouldn't be Christmas if we didn't make Charles uncomfortable.
We're talking about becoming a donatron, because that's always, we always start the show by thanking our donatrons, those lovely people who support us on Patreon and PayPal. Thank you
Charles,
all so
do you get
much
a hand
for continuing
droid
to
for
support
Christmas?
the show. Thank you, all our donatrons for contributing money. That helps keep the show going, helps us keep the lights on, and helps us pay our bills. We really appreciate it. So if you are not a donatron and would like to become one, just go to transmissionspodcast.com/support, and that's where you can sign up and help us out. You get lots of perks. That includes bonus content. You get access to watch the show live when we record it live. You get entered into all our contests automatically. You get some merchandise as well at the higher tiers. Yeah, that bonus content includes We Like Big Bots, our bonus show, and that is available to all our donatrons. You can get that on our Patreon page. It features these two guys down here, Daryl and Dr. Pants.
Hi,
and
it's us.
There's 14 episodes. They
Plenty.
Are promising more in 2025. So
I don't remember that.
You'll look forward to that. Well, I'm promising that you're promising more in 2025. So we're going to have more big bots. And also we've got our Transformers live play RPG podcast, Empire of Rust. We don't have a bonus show for this week, but next week we will have a special episode. It's called Tales from the Forge, and that will be on Monday, December 30th. And this is a special backstory episode, so it's not a regular Empire of Rust episode. The last regular episode was episode 130, Throw Magnum from the Train. That's already out at transmissionspodcast.com/rust. This one will also be there at transmissionspodcast.com/rust on Monday, December 30th. And that will be the last episode of Empire of Rust of 2024. Just like this is the last alt mode of 2024. So enjoy and keep watching, keep listening, keep watching in the new year. You can also pick up our copy of our Transformers #1 exclusive cover. This has artwork by EJ Sue. This is available on our website at transmissionspodcast.com/comic, and you can pick that up there. We will ship that out directly to you. And there's a few more days left in December, so you can still use our 15% off code at toyhacks.com. So use that code HOLLYBOTS, HOLIBOTS, HOLLYBOTS at toyhacks.com, and you will save 15% off everything at toyhacks.com. So use that code as many times as you want until December 31st and get that 15% off. All right, so that's all the intro. So let's jump into our comic review. This week we are reviewing Void Rivals number 15. So this is a spoiler-filled review, so of course there's going to be spoilers and everything. So if you haven't picked up Void Rivals number 15, shut off the podcast, pick it up, read it, and then come back here. Or if you're fine with just having us spoil it for you, you can keep listening. So Void Rivals number 15, writer Robert Kirkman, artist Lorenzo De Felici, colorist Patricio Del Peche, letterer was Russ Wooten, editor Ben Abernathy, logo and publication design Andres Suarez, and production Ashby Florence. So let's talk about the summary of this book, and then we'll get into our thoughts. The Quintessons, after following Hot Rod's shuttle, have found the Sacred Ring and Zerta Trion's legacy. Though they will not speak her name, they have a new mission. They must return to Quintessa immediately and inform the Council of this discovery. Plans and preparation must be done before the Quintessons can act. Elsewhere in deep space, the Cobra Law ship continues its journey. Pythona checks on one of her soldiers, Gracula. Her living armor was blasted with some unknown radiation in the last issue, and it has left some sort of infection. Gracula was protected, but her armor has some sort of growth on it. Pythona is concerned with this contagion and secretly tasks her other warrior, Arconis, to keep an eye on any changes in Gracula's behavior. Suddenly, the Cobra ship is caught in a giant claw. The Skuxoid's Rockeroid ship has found them. Skuxoid sees another prize to claim with his seemingly helpless ship in space. Meanwhile, on Agoria, Derek returns in his scout ship and escorts Hot Rod's ship to land peacefully. Derek tries to make sure that the Agorians don't attack the strange alien immediately, but the Agorians are understandably on high alert. They are even more on edge when Hot Rod leaves his ship to greet them, revealing himself to be a giant robot many times the size of a typical Agorian. Derek continues to implore the Agorians not to make any hostile moves, and Hot Rod tries to make himself appear as friendly as possible with a greeting of friendship. Hot Rod tells Derek's father, the Agorian leader Minister Doolin, that he tracked a friend of his from Cybertron who was on a quest to confirm a myth to the Sacred Ring. Minister Doolin begins to tell him that they know of no other Cybertronians here, but he's interrupted by the sound of Springer's helicopter rotors as he flies in, lands, and transforms to his robot mode. Derek awkwardly admits that he already knew Springer was here, and that's why he knew Hot Rod was friendly. Minister Doolin is not amused. Hot Rod and Springer greet each other warmly and catch each other up on events. Things have gone from bad to worse on Cybertron, and meanwhile Springer has found the source of energon he was looking for, but was stuck in the Sacred Ring for a while. Hot Rod asks if the Agorians will become hostile, but Springer assures him that Derek will handle everything. But just then, one of the Agorians gets trigger-happy and fires a blast at Springer's head. Springer is unharmed, but annoyed, and Derek continues to beg for the Agorians to stand down. In the depths of the Sacred Ring, Solila and Handroid continue their fall in a seemingly bottomless pit. Handroid expects them to eventually hit the bottom and be smashed to their deaths, but Solila has faith that Zerta led her here for a purpose. Ultimately, Solila is right. Just before they hit the bottom, an energy force slows their descent and she lands safely on her feet. Solila then pulls out her green key and uses its glowing light to guide her path forward in the darkness. Back in Agoria, Hot Rod and Springer meet with the Agorian scientists while Derek and Doolin observe them. Doolin is still skeptical of the Cybertronians and doesn't trust them, but Derek tells him that Springer is the only reason he made it back to Agoria alive. The Cybertronians will be powerful allies. After the meeting, Springer is impressed with the Agorians' technological progress after he shared the data on Energon with them. So he thinks they'll be able to build infrastructure to start harvesting and extracting Energon, and then they can set up trade with the Autobots. But they need to keep the location of the Sacred Ring secret from the Decepticons to keep it safe. Hot Rod then asks if Springer ever found Zerta Trion. Springer admits that he hasn't, but the evidence that she's here is all around them. The sacred ring and its people appear to have been created by her. Meanwhile, Derek removes his new handroid and returns it to storage, thanking it for its service. Then he asks the Agorian attendant where his other things, including the message he was supposed to deliver to the Agorian rebels from the Zertonian rebels, are. The attendant doesn't answer, and Derek asks if he has already made contact with the Zertonian rebel leader, Canella. The attendant shushes him and tells Derek his father, Doolin, has eyes and ears everywhere. They walk away to continue their conversation in private. In Zertonia, the child Ultim continues to ask the warrior Proximus how much longer it will take him to repair himself in the machine repair pod. And he keeps asking and it keeps asking. Proximus tells Ultim that the boy's constant questions are breaking his concentration, and if he doesn't stop, he might kill him when his arm and leg are finally repaired. Ultim apologizes and keeps watching. Back in the depths of the Sacred Ring, Celila and Handroid continue their journey through the darkness. Finally, Celila sees a sliver of green light in the distance. As she approaches, she realizes it's a keyhole, and the perfect fit for the key she has. She inserts the key and turns it, and a giant sphere of green light ignites in front of her. From the sphere, a voice booms. I am Vector Theta. Before the Sacred Ring was, I was. Who reactivates me? To be continued. That is the end of Void Rivals number 15. It's exciting, exciting way to end the comic. I was pretty hyped for that. So I like this issue in general. I mean, it was pretty lore heavy, not a lot of action going on here. But finally we get to see Hot Rod and Springer make contact. They are hanging out. Artwork is it's okay. It's a little rough. It's particularly the Autobots are not as clean or detailed as I like for Transformers comics, but it's okay. And the colors are great. The coloring is for all the characters was pretty good, especially the underneath in the depths of the Sacred Ring where they have the glowing green lights. I think that was all really well rendered and everything. So overall, I enjoyed this issue. I liked that this reveal of Vector Theta. So of course we all know from the G1 cartoon series, Vector Sigma, and this classic episode, The Key to Vector Sigma, which introduced the fact that Vector Sigma was the supercomputer at the center of Cybertron that gave life to all the Transformers when they were created. So I'm curious to see what Vector Theta is going to be in the Sacred Ring. Will this be the source of the origin story of the Agorians and the Zertonians? And was it created by Zerta Trion? Since we know in the G1 series, Alpha Trion was associated with Vector Sigma. I don't think he created Vector Sigma, but he was the wise old Autobot who was associated with it. So looks like they're setting that up. And also we have the Quintessons. So the Quintessons somehow know about Zerta and are she was apparently someone they had run-ins with, either a Cybertronian that that rebelled against them, or maybe she was even a Quintesson herself. We don't know. We're not sure about that yet. So very interesting. One thing I thought was a little superfluous, and I still don't know where it's going, is the whole Cobra La stuff, and then they run into the Skuxoid. I hope they tie in the Cobra La stuff a little bit more, like just in general what they're going to do with that, because it seems kind of the one odd piece out that's not really fitting in with the rest of the story. So I'm curious what's going on there. But we don't get a whole lot of movement forward with this other than this meeting the Skuxoid. So I guess we'll see. Maybe next issue, or maybe in 3 issues. I don't know. The pacing is still pretty slow, but I think that's what we've expected. But I thought this had enough high points to counterbalance the slowness here. So, Scott, what did you think of this issue?
I have been loving Void Rivals since the beginning. So this was great. I love seeing. Honestly, this feels like, I want to say an event comic, because it feels like it's tying G.I. Joe and Transformers and all these things together, because we have Cobra Law, we have Cybertronians, and then we have the Argonians and the Agorians.
Agorians.
I want to say Argonians, but that's not right. But Agorians, and then the other race I can't quite remember. But it's tying all of that. Zertonians. Thank you. There's just too much to remember. It's and the Skuxoid is in this, and I know in the previous issues we had another one that was in the Transformers comics. Whoever it was who palled up with DevCon in the original series.
Slizardo.
Yeah. Like, he's been in there. So it's kind of nice to see all this coming together. I am with you. I'm a little curious as to how the Cobra Law stuff fits into this, because I mean, it seems really out there, but at the same time, like, it could fit in really well, because honestly, Hot Rod and Springer are tying into this really well, and they don't feel like they're out of place in it. So that's been really, really cool. I did want to point out that, and I don't know who's going to know this, but the Cobra Law ship gives me very, very strong Outlanders vibes, which was an old Japanese comic called Outlanders that was published by Dark Horse, and it was an old OVA too. But it gives me very strong vibes of that. So I don't know who's going to remember that, but it ties into that pretty well. I like how these things are moving forward. How Springer's like, yeah, we can harvest Energon and Zeta Trion and everything, like trying to find her and whatnot, and the Quintessons, and there's so many pieces on the board here, and I don't know how it's all going to interact together, and it's very, very interesting. And then the ending where we get Vector Theta, like, that was just, I was like, yes, oh, this is really, really cool, because it's giving an almost Cybertronian origin to the Sacred Ring, which I've been planning for, or not planning for, but expecting this whole time, because of this idea of Zeta Trion being there and whatnot. And like, this kind of, they're not a metallic race or like a Cybertronian race. Like, they seem organic, but we know that they can work with Energon and everything. And it's just, I want to know more. I'm really interested in what's going on here and all of these pieces working together. And I am a sucker for a good space opera where there's so many pieces out there and all these different story threads all weaving together, and all these things that don't seem interconnected right now, but they're all going to come together and make this epic story. I have absolutely loved Void Rivals. Aside from the Transformers book, it is my second favorite book out there right now. On the art, I'm kind of with you, Charles. Like, at times it's really, really good. They do a really good job, but at other times it's really inconsistent. I don't hate the way they do Hot Rod and Springer. I think they do an okay job. It's very G1 kind of style, because it's simplified and not a lot of detail. But at the same time, like, there are just things that I'm like, I don't think you're doing a good job. The first shot of Hot Rod, they make his shins and like the lower half of his legs really small. And it doesn't look right proportion wise. But everything else I think looks really good. It's inconsistent. And I've said that before when we reviewed Void Rivals. I know that the Agorians is. What's the other race, Charles? Zetarians? Zertonians. Jesus Christ, I cannot remember that.
Zertonians.
Zertonians. I'm going to try. The gems in their foreheads are not drawn consistently. But the same thing is true of the faces, and it bothers me a little bit, but I don't hate the artwork. It's not bad. It's just inconsistent, and it bugs me a little bit, but yeah, I don't know what else to say. I am loving this series as a whole, but I will freely admit I'm buying it as trades. So I'm reading it like chunk by chunk. And when you told me we were reviewing issue 15, I even had to tell you, hey, I haven't read 13 or 14. So I read that whole bit together. And this is definitely a story that I think serves better as a trade and is better read in chunks than issue to issue. But I do really like this. I think it's really good, and I'm really interested to see where it goes from here.
Cool. All right, Daryl, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I liked the issue, based on the fact that I went into it thinking Hot Rod was looking for Jetfire. And when Springer showed up, I was like, oh shit, yeah, Springer's here too. So yeah, that's what I was, that's the kind of surprise that I was in for. I enjoyed the issue based on that. The search for Vector Theta was a very interesting kind of twist. I find it. I do kind of find that interesting to having like these multiple Cybertronian supercomputers around, and yeah, it's an interesting kind of way to spread the Transformers lore. Yeah. I mean, it was a fine story. It definitely, like you said, Charles, dragged on a bit at the start. I don't particularly like the art, so I really didn't pay too much of attention to it. The part that you mentioned about the G.I. Joe stuff, Cobra Law, I think is ridiculous.
Not surprised.
Well, it doesn't even have anything to do with the stinking story. Like, it's just there, and doesn't the and the Skuxoid, his family is dead, right? Like, if I'm remembering,
Yes.
I'm remembering that correctly. Like, he keeps referring to his wife and kids, like this will make the wife and kids really happy or something like that, and they're all dead. Like, so he's nuts.
They're either dead or they never existed. We don't really we don't know
Right.
we don't know what the deal is. He goes home to an empty house, basically.
Right. So he's nuts.
Yes, he is.
But he's got like an incredibly impressive ship. Or the Cobra Law characters are like Micronauts. So I'm not entirely sure how to take this, but I think they're this little like D-level story that's kind of been carrying on in this title is ridiculous and should end. I don't particularly know what else to like, where else they're kind of going with this. I'm interested to kind of see. I like the idea of like the Hot Rod and Springer kind of have with like having a trade route or something like that, but there's way too much drama going on between the two factions right now to kind of solidify it enough to make them a space-faring world that will agree on one thing. So anyway, I enjoyed the issue for what it was, but it's really not it's not nearly as good as the Transformers series for me right now.
I agree
push
with
back.
you.
No. Push back?
I'm not going to push back. In fact, I'm gonna agree with you that it's not as good as the Transformers series, but I think it's because it's just different. The Transformer series is very action heavy. There's some really great character writing, but the story is very simple. The story is very complex. A couple of things I did want to point out. Number one, the Cobra Law stuff
is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Also, Are the characters named after snakes or not? Because we have Pythona, and there's another character named after a snake, but then we get, what is it, Gracula? What the hell is that? That's not a snake. I don't know what it is. It sounds like Dracula, but like, I don't know. And then a Cronus?
Arconus.
No, it's Acronus. I'm looking at it right now. It's not Arconus.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
I must have misspelled it.
It's AKRONUS. So, yeah, I but like,
did you miss huge cockiness?
No, we did not miss that.
Here's the deal. I'm not with Daryl on this. I don't want it to just be gone. Like I just want a payoff, and I think it's going to pay off at some point. But one thing I just noticed as you guys were talking, did you notice that Hot Rod is colored similarly to the Agorian's color palette, and Springer is more to the Zertonian color palette? Like Hot Rod's
that's
the kind
interesting.
I just noticed that like they kind of like we have that going on. I wonder.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. That's a good catch.
I don't know if that means anything or what. Also, when this is just a side thing, but when Springer shows up and he calls Hot Rod Kid, I could immediately hear the same voice actor from like the 80s. Like just doing that voice, and that was fantastic. But
Neil Ross was the voice of Springer.
Thank you. I couldn't remember his name. And none of us brought it up, but the whole I am Vector Theta before the Sacred Ring was I was. It's the exact line from the Key to Vector Sigma where it says I am Vector Sigma before Cybertron was I was, and it's repeating the same line. And sorry, a couple of things I wanted to point out after Daryl went, because I just noticed some other things afterwards, but I don't know where this is going. But I'm very excited to see where it's going, because it's, I'm more tied to the 86 movie. That was I didn't watch a lot of the G1 cartoon because I was born in 86. So I saw a lot of the 86 movie. So honestly, Void Rivals ties more to that for me, because I get Hot Rod, I get Springer, I get the Quintessons. I still love the Skybound G1 comic. It's very, very cool, but I'm interested to see what they do with this and kind of take the twist on it. Also, the shuttle Hot Rod's in is it's the moon-based shuttles, which is kind of interesting, rather than being like the shuttle they take off Earth in the 86 movie. It's like the moon-based shuttle. I don't know. It's just kind of cool. Glad they threw that in there.
Neat. Yeah, so hopefully more interesting stuff coming for Void Rivals in 2025. So we'll look forward to that. And I hope we're getting closer to a crossover between like all the titles. It's like just where we see the connections between Void Rivals, Transformers, and G.I. Joe. But we'll wait a little bit longer to see if that comes up.
If it stays maintained to Void Rivals for now, I'm not upset, because I don't want to do a thing where I have to buy every comic that's currently out. Like, I don't want to buy. I'm already buying Transformers, and I'm getting Void Rivals by trades. I don't have to get issues of Transformers, Void Rivals, and G.I. Joe just to get the whole story. I don't like comic book crossovers. It's such a waste of money, and it never pans out to be as good as you want it to be. Remember Avengers versus X-Men? That wasn't that good. I don't want to do that again.
Well, I mean, we'll see. I don't know since they started off as a shared universe. I mean, I think they probably baked the crossover in the planning for that. So
yeah, I'm just hoping
we'll have to wait and see.
I'm just hoping they give it plenty of time, like for each series to breathe before they do a crossover. And it seems like they're doing that, because we're getting little nuggets, but nothing's like super tied in. It just seems like Void Rivals is kind of the epicenter of a lot of things.
All right. Well, that's our review of Void Rivals number 15. If you have thoughts, please write in and let us know. And we will go back to reviewing more Skybound Energon Universe comics in 2025. So let's continue on with the show. We've got some media news.
All right. And in media news this week, we've got some CAD designs for Bumblebee. These are coming from the mobile game Transformers Eternal War. This is the new game that is coming out. Don't really have a date on that yet, I don't think, but should be soon. Anyway, there is a trailer out for the game, and you can see what Bumblebee is going to look like, as well as Optimus and Megatron. But those are still just in art renders. The Bumblebee's a full CAD design, so take a look at that. But yeah, so you can see where that is, and again, it's going to be another mobile game. So do what you might with that. It's some people like them, some people don't. On to the next topic. We've got the script for Transformers 1 is available, and Josh Cooley put it out on Twitter. A fan just wrote to him on Twitter and said, "Hey, is there anywhere where we can read the script for Transformers 1?" And he's like, "Yeah, right here." And he put a link to this article here, and you can download the script, the whole screenplay. And I did just that because I think it's really cool to have that script. It's just a PDF. It's like 190 pages or something like that, or 119 pages. Can't remember what it was, but anyway, it's pretty long. And yeah, you can actually read the lines that he's got for the characters and how the direction he had for everything. Yeah, it looks really cool. So if you really want to dig deep into the Transformers 1 movie, having a copy of the script is definitely a way to do it. So take a look at that. I highly recommend it. Moving on, we've got Brian Tyree Henry, who did the voice of D16 and Megatron in Transformers 1. He was nominated for an Annie Award, and he that is in the category of best voice acting. So yeah, the Annie Awards are going to take place. The 52nd Annie Awards will take place. Excuse me. Will take place on Saturday, February 8th. And we'll find out whether Brian Tyree Henry wins. So that'd be kind of cool. Yeah, I'm just trying to see who else he's up against. Is something for Chicken for Linda. I didn't know that was a movie, but that's cool. Yeah, it's for Melanie Leclerc played the character Linda in Chicken for Linda. Inside Out 2, Maya Hawke for the character Anxiety. The Wild Robot, Lupita Luongo played the character Roz. Also in The Wild Robot, Kit Connor played the character Bright Bill. So some pretty heavy movies there. Yeah, that's a pretty stacked category for sure.
I was going to say, I'm going to throw it out there. I don't know if you guys saw The Wild Robot. Fantastic movie. I recommend it to anyone. Yeah, he's got some stiff competition just from that in general, because that was an amazing movie with some very, 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 very good voice performances from those two in particular. So,
yep. No, it's definitely a movie that is haunting Transformers 1 for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Released a week after, and yeah, ate its lunch.
Yeah.
All right, and finally, it is that time of year. Time for the Transformers Beast Wars actors to start releasing their holiday messages, and we've got the first one. This is Optimus Primal's voice actor, Garry Chalk, and he has released a message entitled Jingle Wars. And you can play the video below. It's on YouTube, and it's pretty fun. So take a look at that. It's definitely one of those things that you need to like. It says here in the article that many people may not know, but Gary's about to start treatments for stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's very treatable, so but definitely send him your best, and take a look at the video he's put out for this year's holiday message.
Okay, well, that's all for media news this week. So we will finish up the show with some convention news.
Am I doing that too?
Okay. Oh, if you want to. I was going to do it, but it doesn't matter. Or
it's fine.
Okay.
I could also do it.
Go ahead, Scott.
All right. So Gregg Berger is going to be at TFcon LA 2025. Gregg Berger, of course, known as Grimlock, Skyfire, and Longhaul in G1. But let's not forget his most famous role as Stockade in Robots in Disguise 2015. No, I'm just kidding. Like, we know he's Grimlock.
Odie.
Oh, what?
Everyone knows him as Odie.
Was he Odie? Really?
Garfield, yep.
Oh my God. Okay. Wow. Learn something new every day. But
he was also corn-fed in the 90s animated show Duckman, starring Jason Alexander.
No kidding. Really? God damn. Okay. I'm learning so much in this episode. But anyway, Gregg Berger is going to be there at TFcon LA. Again, he's Grimlock. He will always be our Grimlock. Skyfire, Longhaul, and Outback from G1. But this is the 10th anniversary of Robots in Disguise 2015. It's been 10 years. Holy crap. But so if you want to meet him, go there March 7th through the 9th, TFcon LA. I will not be there. I don't know if anybody from from TransMissions is going to be there, but maybe Char.
Yeah, we can't do TFcon LA every year, so me and Daryl are definitely out this year. So
I'm not going. It's all the way across that way. It's really far away.
Jeremy's turn. He's the closest.
He is. Well, again, Char could go.
Yeah, Char is actually the closest.
Yeah, not far away.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all we've got for this episode of TransMissions Alt Mode, and that'll close out 2024 and our TransMissions Alt Mode shows. So, yeah, it's been a while. It's been a very interesting year. Interesting quotes. I mean, it's 2025 looks to be even more interesting. So, I guess we're looking forward to that. But there's going to be
gotta start it. You gotta start it if you want it to finish.
That's true. We could have not started it at all, but I'm not going into that.
The journey of 1,000 impeachments.
Wait.
The first one.
We shouldn't have started 2025, 2024, or you shouldn't have started Transmissions. Which one are we talking about? Because
none of those. Anyway, yeah, we're looking forward to the new year. So thanks everyone for sticking around with us. And as always, we give a shout out to our masterpiece donatrons. Those are the ones who give us the biggest contributions on Patreon. So that's why they get a mention in every episode of our Transmissions podcast and Transmissions Alt Mode. So thank you again to John 471 and Steve C. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for continuing to support us. We really appreciate it. Scott, aka Dr. Pants, thank you again for hanging out with us and coming in during the holiday week of the year to give us this last podcast, and tell everyone where they can find you online.
Thank you again for having me. This is actually the fourth year I've been on Transmissions, and I'm having a hard time believing that. And I can't thank you guys enough for having me on here. I've had such a blast between this and the times we've had at TFcon. So thank you again for all this. And if anybody out there wants to see more of me and my friends doing our Nerdstradamus thing, we are going into our 10th year of Nerdstradamus. If you're watching this video, the link tree right below my name, you can go there and find all our stuff. We are Nerdstradamus on YouTube. If you're not watching this and you're listening, you can check out the show notes. It's Nerdstradamus on YouTube. That's our main outlet, but we are on all of the social medias. You can find us everywhere. Just please come check us out. We're just a bunch of guys who just want to have fun, just need some kind of creative outlet. And we're not doing this for any fame or fortune. It's just for dumb fun because no one else likes our jokes.
Fair enough. All right, everyone. Have a good holiday break. We'll see you in 2025. Thanks, everyone, for watching and listening. Check out our special podcast next week. We've got the TFcon Baltimore podcast panel. That will be the main episode of Transmissions on New Year's Day. And then January 3rd, Friday, for Transmissions Alt Mode, we've got my special interview with Rod from The Black Guy Who Tips, who is also a big Transformers fan. So he has a cool comedy, humor, politics, pop culture podcast, and he's also goes by Rodimus Prime on Twitter and Blue Sky. So we knew he was a big Transformers fan, so that's why I got a chance to interview him. So check those out next week, and then we'll be back the following week for brand new episodes in 2025. So we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Happy New Year, everyone. See ya.
Later.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Transmissions. If you'd like to join the conversation, travel to our Discord channel at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. Want some cool Transmission swag? Feast your eyes on our Transmissions gear at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. If you'd like to support our podcast, go to transmissionspodcast.com/support or tell your friends about our show. We'll see you next time.